so. During mighty odd years, this HCE man, Finnegan, this man of cement to make up certain places, raw material like hard sense and cement and things editorial-wise, lived in a place called Topper's Thorpe, but he was piled like a building full of dung, a superb building full of dung, upon the banks, for the people who live by so-and-so. He added little Fifi, who seemed as if her last name was Little, and like an Alice Little, but I think Annie, ugly little creature, to do so. With his hair, he stuck up in hounds, and unlike the linguist, he did not tug up his parts in her, with her wit. Often, like a steed, like a bowed, like a meter with mirth ahead, with goodly goodness in his grasp, he ironed his overalls, which he favored with fondness, like a habit, which might have been the seed of all Finnegan's goodness. Like the Muslim Harun, or the great European Schildrigger and Egbert, he was like HCE. He would, just like Caligula, do something with the multiples about the altitude and the bad side of it, multiply them together to find the neutral state, which made him see the neat light of the liqueur, which caused his birth. Liqueur was to him as the morals are to the Puritans of other days, who would be extremely insulted to rise or undress, or to upstand and advocate for masonry. Grant him joy we do to Finnegan, who is worth all sorts of wool. He is a skyscraper. What an eyesight he has, entirely originated from next to nothing, or we should say, entirely, and escalating celestial-wise because of the hymnals and all, like hierarchy, like an architecture, tip-toeing through all philosophical and political. He has a burning bush atop all of his starting points, for he is Moses, and lawns and tulers, flattering up as tubes and buckets come clattering down. For he is God, he is Adam, he is Noah, he is Isaac and Moses, and he is David, he is Daniel, he is John the Baptist, he is Patrick, and he is Rory O'Connor, he is Brian O'Beru, and he is Finn, and he is Tim Finnegan. Of the first to help Finnegan was someone named Rosalie Bouzelaw, who lived in a town called Wiesengeborg. His crest was of heraldry, invert with ancillary, but he was troubled. He was urgent like an agent. He was a gawking version of a goat, a he-goat. He was persevering, yet all of it poured into a sieve. He was hard and horned. Now, but Mr. Finnegan, of the stuttering hand, was a freeman's friend. He lived in the broadest way imaginable, or should we say, imaginable. Everyone rushed to lit his place, which is too far back for comforts, massages, or messengers. This was before Joshua and Judges and Numbers, and before Helviticus committed the sins in, or committed to memory, Deuteronomy. For example, one day when he wasn't supposed to take in yeast, he sternly, and he did, as a punishment for himself, he sternly struck a part of his body in a tub, to watch and wash the future of his fates. But he took it out again, and by the might of Moses, the very water from it was evaporated, and all the Guinnesses were gone, as if they had met their exodus, and he was sober again. And so that must show you what a man he was. For he did a sin, and was juicily scandalous, but then repented. When Abe did realize his mother, Eve, had got the hard apples, the walls and the halls were horrible, and the rights of people rolled downhill. Cars were hacked, Gone were the gems of stone hands ruined by gentlemen. The veins were kissed, but it was true, trees were only dreams. And all of the people who bawled and bowers were far gone, though there was still the kittens were morphed into kinnetons, and they were automatic, which was hard. Hobbies were like hippos now, hardly existent, and people fled from street fights. Tourists needed taxes, and the fogs were huge when the circuses and moats tried to be controlled by the warden, and quirky were the basilisks, and flying through the air were the arthropods and their cages, and the house and all the jolliness, and the man who peels the coat, and then that hard Mecklenburg woman bit George IV's ear, as did the Marlborough woman, who seems as if she was on the borough of Marlborough, and she foiled poor old George IV's coats that bore the more, and his working stacks, his working people, went from bright to black, and 12 pins became a dozen, and the new little buses was risking their safety in the street where safety was supposed to be first, and the people who were jolly all the time, like Jelly, Derrily, was snooping around the corner where they weren't even supposed to tell a tailor about it. And the fumes and the hopes of the working people, and the vile villagers, indigenous people who just roam around yet keep stores, the people who keep the home and keep it nice, and the people who stalk people from the dome. All of this, and dancing around through Finnegan's head while he lays dead like a seep of fancy mud, murmured, and the uproar from all the top of the roofs, which is a roof it may be, but it is a reef for Hugh, but under the bridge suits people who want to nigh everything, and make it everything nigh and nothing. The doctor was warning Phil, but he felt full and tippling. His head felt heavy, and his head did shake. There is a wall with an erosion, put a wall in the cause of desires. Dim went the sound. Finnegan started from the ladder. Damn, he was dead like a dud. He was dumb. The master of all the platoons. The master of tomorrow. This might be bad or good. But when a man makes merry, his flute is all long. This the whole world sees. I should see the sighs. The son of coolness, oh Finnegan, why did ye die? On a vexing Thursday morning, where we were very thirsty, we were mourning. Sobs they did sigh at Finnegan's wake, which took place at Christmas, and all the hooligans of the nation laid like the father of fornicationists in their anger. And their two dismays, evilly profuse like a plethora of goodness, for the hooligans liked that Finnegan was dead. There was jubilees for the hooligans. There were plums and all sorts of fruits there, and there were sheriffs and kitherers there. There were raiders there now at Finnegan's wake, and there were cinnamon men from the cinnamon. And they all gained in, shouting and sawing, Agog and Magog of Europe, and the round of them were all angry. The celebration continued until Hannah and Hoonigans were killed with exhaust and collapsed on the floor dead. Some sang chorus with their kindred, others attempted to be more keening, but they couldn't do that. They belled Finnegan up and filled him down. He's stiff, but he's steady, as one of their old friends, Priam Alim. Finnegan was once a decent, laboring youth, happy all the time. Sharp in his pillow, the pillow of Jacob, which is a scone of Scotland. Papa's his briar, which is his beer. Everywhere in the world, you would never hear such a din again. They shoved people in the dig for fun, but their brow was deep with sorrow and dusty fidelity of his wife. They laid him against his bed with a bottle full of whiskey lips for his feet. There is a barrow load of Guinnesses for his head. See the total of the fluid all of its drunkenness destroys. The confusion of the confused. Oh, hurrah! Only the young people leave the funeral. For the world of the owls and all its mysticism. But there are wheels in view, the wheels of the adolescence, which is the same thing as children, but only when you're caught in a tight space and you have nothing else to say. Well, Finnegan was a being. He's on the bottom of his bulk. He's like an overgrown babeling even when he was young. Let me see him. For from people who make store lists and selfish like people whatnot, and to selfless people who are bailed out wickedly, from selfish people and materialists who like a ton of ash, to people who sing baritones at the opera, or from people who buy everything, including the banks, to someone who is a Puritan, or from the foot of Finnegan to his eye. For Finnegan is everything. He is a patriarch, and all the way like a horn, from the Florida Finnegan to the Fiala Finnegan. The winds of the bay sat like oboes, and they shall wail him, and they shall make him want to go back to the rock, saying, Hoa, Hoa, Hoa. They want him to swim, for he had swam and swum all the living long night, however evil it was there. The dells are dappling throughout the night like a dale, and the night of the bluebells want him back, flirting with him, which is rather tricky because he has a wife, saying, O Karina, trying to wake the dead Finnegan at his wick. With Vanices, Isavans, and his wife spoils Jack Martin's, because he is very unfortunate. He goes in and comes out. The wife then told of Jack Martin, telling a tale of his tum, which is but a toll. Then she gets teary-eyed thinking about Jack Martin, and grumpy like a turtle. For Jack Martin is very troubling. He was great before he was a glutton. To get back to Finnegan, for what are we, gross gifts if we are about to believe that we are gross gifts when we're not gifts at all. So however much you beg to go into a pool, one person at the wake must pass the kingdom of Kish to another one, for the sake of Craw. Amen is like Oman, the country. So sigh us. Grandpapa's Finnegan has fallen down.